Hey, it's a Humble Collector here. In today's video, we're doing another photo highlight, but in this case, we're actually looking at a entire album, really. And this album is very interesting because it belonged to a U.S. Marine, and that Marine was actually in an amphibious tractor unit. So we're going to kind of go through some of the photos in here, talk a little bit about his service. Really great photos. I'm very excited to share them with you guys. So right in the front here, we have a flag that seems to have been a gift to our son Emilio. It's like a little flag sticker. So we know that the Marine who had this album, his name was Emilio. And later on, I'm going to show you guys, we have some photos that are actually marked D'Alessandro on the back. So based off that, Emilio D'Alessandro is the Marine that originally put together this album. And it starts off with a lot of family photos. There are several D'Alessandros in here with addresses written as well, saying they're in New Jersey, so that's probably where Emilio is from as well. And further reinforcing that, we have a Christmas card here from his niece, also referring to Uncle Emilio. And as we progress through the album, we start to see photos mixed in for other Marines. Some of these photos are captioned as Parris Island, 1942. Parris Island is one of the big Marine Corps like boot camp training locations, so that would be where Emilio went through his basic training. And based off of that Parris Island 1942 and doing a little bit digging through the ancestry records, I believe I found the correct Emilio. So Emilio G. D'Alessandro, service number 425115, was at Parris Island as a private in the 4th Recruit Battalion in July of 1942. So that lines up with the photos we're seeing here. And we also start to see a lot of photos of different Marines that were probably friends of his that he was in training with. And a lot of these are actually labeled as well. So just going through a few of them here, we have G.W. Allison of Rutherfordton, North Carolina, Richard H. Bills of Urbana, Ohio, Robert Bryan of Laurel, Maryland, Jack O'Leary of Paterson, New Jersey, and J.R. Martin of Elmet, New York. And we also see several photos of him and some of his friends with a dog. The dog actually does show up in pictures further into the album as well. And at this point, we start to see a lot more of a swampy environment show up in the photos. It definitely looks a bit more like Florida. That also tracks with Emilio D'Alessandro's service listings that I could find. I found a reference to him in a Marine Corps roster from January of 1943 that he was a private first class in Amphibian Tractor Detachment, Dunedin, Florida. He was there in July as well as a corporal at that point. And from January to April of 1944, I found several references to him being there as a sergeant. So it seems like the unit that he was with, I don't know if this was a training unit necessarily, or if they were just stationed stateside for a year before they sent off to the Pacific. But clearly he spent a lot of time there, made some more friends. We see several other Marine photographs show up at this point. So we have Joe Popovic here of Mount Pleasant, PA, which is actually my neck of the woods. Eugene Abe of Wiley Ford, West Virginia. A.C. Donaldson of East McKeesport, PA, again, pretty close to my neck of the woods, and Stanley Perkofsky of Kenosha, Wisconsin. And we also get a lot of really nice group shots from the training school. So some of particular interest here, we have one which appears to have the dog in it. This does look like the same dog as some of the other photos. We also have this lovely shot that actually has an LVT in the background. And another photo here labeled with a group of Marines assigned to LVT 21. Now, at this point, we get into what I think is the best part of the album. We have so many of these great photos of LVTs in action. We see them on the open water. We see them transitioning from land to water. You know, we see a lot of really nice group shots. Clearly, they're doing a lot of training here while they're stationed in Florida. And this is, again, where I was able to confirm Emilio's last name with all the other information we had, because he apparently had all these photos printed specifically for himself. They're all marked with his name on the back of them, which I found rather interesting. And in July of 1944, he's going to leave Florida. He's still a sergeant at this point. He's with the Operator School Company for Amtrak's in Oceanside, California. So clearly in the year and a half that he's been with this amphibious tractor detachment, he's learned a lot. Now he's going to this operator school. A bit unclear if he's getting additional training there or if he's actually giving some training. But shortly thereafter, he's transferred to a combat unit, this unit being the Ninth Amphibian Tractor Battalion. And he would remain with this unit through the end of the war. Now, specifically, starting in July of 1944 through October that I could find, he was still a sergeant with the Headquarters and Service Company of the Ninth Amphibian Tractor Battalion. By January of 1945, he's a platoon sergeant with the Headquarters and Service Company of the battalion. And from April to July of 1945, he is with Company B of the Ninth Amphibian Tractor Battalion. Now, unfortunately, I really could not find a lot of information on this battalion. Like, quite literally, the only source I could find was like 2 paragraphs on Wikipedia And there is a link to another website on the Wikipedia article, and when I click it, the link is dead. It doesn't actually go anywhere. So the only information I really have about this battalion is that they were involved in landings on Okinawa, which would have been April of 1945. So certainly Emilio seems like he would have been there with the unit at that point. And they were specifically landing the 6th Marine Division during the battle. And they began the Okinawa battle with 103 LVTs. And by the end of the Battle of Okinawa, they were down to 17 of the initial, again, 103 that they started out with. And this is only based off one source, so take it with a grain of salt. But, obviously the fighting throughout the Pacific is very vicious. Okinawa is no exception. And the unit loses a lot of vehicles and, likely a lot of crew members as well throughout the fighting there. Now, in October of 1945, it seems like Emilio's transferred out of that combat supporting unit. He ends up going to the Supply Maintenance Battalion of the 5th Service Depot, under the service command of the Fleet Marine Forces. And it seems like he actually stayed in the Marines after the war. I found a couple references to a Staff Sergeant Emilio D'Alessandro going through like the early to mid 1950s. In fact, serving with the 2nd Amphibian Tractor Battalion in Camp Lejeune for a while. So I'm not 100% sure it's the same individual, but it certainly seems likely. Everything kind of lines up. And kind of going back to the group photos for the LVT crews that we saw earlier, there was one that was separated from the rest of them that was in the back of the album. And this is for a group of Marines assigned to LVT 35. And 2 of these Marines actually have New Jersey stencil on their caps. They all seem to have nicknames or the states they're from. And while I couldn't find a caption photo of Emilio anywhere on this album, I believe the gentleman in the back left here is him. I say that because he seems to match the description for Emilio. His hat says he's from New Jersey. Emilio's from New Jersey. Again, this is just speculation, but this individual does seem to appear in a lot of the other photos in the album, so it does line up. And the reason that I think this is him is that I did find a draft record for an Emilio D'Alessandro, born May 1923 in Jersey City, New Jersey, who was 5'10", 160 pounds, gray eyes, and brown hair. Of course, of the 2 people with caps labeled New Jersey here, he has brown hair, the other one does not, so that's kind of what I'm basing that off of. And I will say I had a hard time tracking down this draft card to begin with because there is another Emilio D'Alessandro from New York who also had a draft card in the system. However, he was born in 1893, so while he certainly could have served during World War II, he would have been kind of old at that point to be serving in a combat role especially. So I find that kind of unlikely, especially given the fact that, based off the beginning of the album here, we have that Emilio's parents are still alive. Obviously, they give him that nice little flag sticker that goes in the front. He has apparently a very young niece at this point. So that tends to point to somebody who's more like we see here for the Emilio born in 1923. Somebody that's in their early 20s seems to be a little bit more likely. And it appears that this particular Emilio D'Alessandro passed away on May 14th, 2003. Unfortunately, I really could not find a lot of information. I found a very brief obituary, but it didn't mention anything about World War II service. But yeah, just really a fascinating album. I picked this one up a couple years ago. I think I talked about it in an unboxing when we first opened it up. But it's such a cool piece. I thought it was something that you guys would appreciate. I know the photo videos tend not to be as popular as like the death card videos, for example, but I know there's a lot of people that do like them, and I feel like this is a good chance to see a lot of photos instead of just the one-offs that we've been doing. But yeah, overall, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see y'all again very soon.